So your offer on your new home just got accepted. Congrats. Now you're under contract. Well, what does that mean? And now you're in an option period. What does that mean? Your realtor is saying you've got to pay for an inspection. Well, what other costs are you going to have? Stay tuned as we answer all of those questions and more. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, where we talk about everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, well, actually last week, let's talk about last week's episode where we kicked off part one of our option period when you go under contract after your offer has been accepted. Covered what the option period is and what typically happens during that window. Today, though, we are tackling the question every buyer asks, and that's, okay, what all is this going to cost me? But before we get to all of that, of course, a little coffee talk with the Joes. You know, Joe, I don't know about you, but I get so irritated in how people text. I mean, granted, it's like to me, the worst form of communication out there, right? But when I'm going through asking a question via text, and you just get this letter K back as an answer, it's like, can you type it all? Or, you're not driving.
It wasn't just a rhetorical question, by the way. Those questions where you don't really want anybody to answer. So that's what you're getting back on those. I guess I don't have an issue with somebody giving me a K because via text, I'm not asking an in-depth question most of the time. But I can see where that could irritate you. If you need the one that I don't like is when you ask two questions in the same text and you get one answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. That didn't really answer all of what I asked. So I've stopped doing that. I've stopped doing the two questions in one text. I'll do a question, wait for the answer, then I'll do the second question.
And some of the time, the texts just go on and on and on. It's like, why don't you just pick up the phone and call me if you really want to know? I mean, right. You have the phone in your hand. I know that because you're texting. So just call me.
Yep. No, that's getting bad news over text drives me nuts. Like if you want to talk about don't send me a text with bad news. And my kids know this. They know not to text me if something happened. Because if you text me what happened, you're in more trouble. Because in my head, I'm going through the dumbest thing that you did to make that happen. Where If you call me and you tell me what's happening, I can't put that narrative of the stupidest thing you did to make it happen then. And so my kids have learned, call dad, talk about what just happened. Don't text him and say, this just happened, because I'm going to think of all the bad stuff first. So I don't know if that helped your coffee talk this morning, Joe, but I liked it. I like how you came up with that one quickly.
Texting, I know is the worst form of communication, but still, that
kind of leads us into our job, right? We have a lot of loan originators, and it goes into what we're going to talk about today. We have a lot of loan originators that like to text. We have a lot of clients, the younger generation of clients, they like text, and a lot of times going through text on fees and cost and things like that doesn't tell you the story. No, it really doesn't. It tells you the narrative, but it doesn't tell you the story. And, if I text you, Joe, and say, Earnest money is 1%, and you're a new home buyer, what does that mean to you?
Not much, honestly. I mean, it doesn't mean that much,
right.
because as we've talked on other shows, uh, you could put down a percentage if you want, but what's really in that cost, right?
Yeah.
Breakdown of that. I mean, if I'm going to pay 10, 12, 13,000, I want to know what I'm paying for, right?
Yep.
So in a text message, you're not going to get that.
Well, and that's where, going into today's show, we're going to talk about the cost of different things that are associated during your option period, right? And the first and the biggest one, we talked about this briefly last show, but the biggest one is called earnest money. Joe, gonna touch on that real quick. What is earnest money to a first-time home buyer?
So really what it is you're showing the sellers that you're serious about this home, right? So you're putting an earnest money deposit down on it so that they can take it off the market, right? Is showing that, and because if you don't, they're just going to keep it on the market and keep offers coming in, right? So you got to be able to show that earnest money deposit, and that can end up going towards your actual down payment, right? So typically an earnest money deposit is typically 1% of the purchase price.
So if you're buying a $500,000 home, you're looking at about $5,000 being the minimum on something like that you'd be out of pocket. If you're buying a $300,000 home, $3,000 typical for those. I've seen a little bit less, but I've also seen a lot higher. What Joe just said it perfectly is it's your commitment to the seller that you're buying this house, and you're basically putting this out there, and during the option period, and then there's a financing option period too, to where that's a little longer than just your option period from the standpoint of getting your inspections done. But that's what your earnest money can be given back to you if you cancel in those times. Mm-hmm. But you're basically putting it out there that you want to buy this house. And I hate to say it's a cost, but it is. It's out-of-pocket money that if you don't fulfill your part of that contract, you're not hitting your timeline with your lender, you're not able to close on time, that money is at risk. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're hitting those timelines and working with a professional on that. So,
and that's one of the three big, at least the expected out-of-pocket expenses up front. Right, when your offer is accepted, is an earnest money deposit, an inspection, and then an appraisal. And we'll go further in depth on these, but those are the three that you can figure out of pocket that you're going to have expenses for. Yeah.
And then where is that money held? Do you pay that earnest money directly to the seller? Do you give it to your agent? Where does that money go to, Joe?
Actually, the title company that's being used, they're going to hold it, right? So it's going to be paid to the title company, and they'll get you a receipt for it, which is good because we need that as far as the lender side of it, to be able to show the underwriters that what you put down for the earnest money deposit.
Yep. And then just remember that there's usually about $100 to $200 option fee that we talked about a lot last show. Mm-hmm. That that one is basically giving you the right to cancel in that option period. No questions asked, anything. Seller keeps that $100 or $200, you get your earnest money back. Just kind of clarifying on that one last time, just so that way people remember what the option fee is when it comes to the earnest money. Joe, have you ever had an instance to where you had a client not get their earnest money back?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay.
That's what I can recall. Have you?
I have not personally, but working with so many different loan originators over all the years, I have had a couple instances, and one of them was on my loan originator to where, as a company, we went ahead and refunded that person their money because it was the right thing to do. So we had to eat it because the loan originator is no longer in the business. So, I've had those in the past. I had one where it was on the client. To where the client quit their job right before, didn't get a new job, so we had no income, and there was nothing I could do. Yeah. And they actually had to give over the earnest money because instead of it being a natural thing, they actually quit their job versus them getting laid off or fired.
Folks, please don't do that.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I know we've covered in other shows as far as the do's and the do nots. When you get pre-approved and when your offer is accepted, a big one is don't switch jobs.
No,
Don't quit your job.
no.
That's
And
throws such a monkey wrench in
that
the
earnest money that you put out there, if you guys do something like that, they keep it. So you want to make sure that you're secure in that. But Joe, let's talk about, we went into it last week, and I was hoping we had a gentleman on today, but I found out that he got out of the business. So I know we're working on it, but what is another one that is a guaranteed cost that you're going to have during the option period?
A home inspection, right? And I don't know if you want to say guaranteed, because some people try to skip this one. And folks,
you're right.
Don't.
You're right. Guaranteed was the wrong word. The majority of the time, and if you're not getting one, please go back and think about why you did not.
Right. Even if it's a new build.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But Joe, how long does a typical home inspection take? Have you ever sat through one? Because I have.
I have not. It can take a few hours from what I understand, 2, 3, 4 hours. Yep. It can take.
Yeah, we did one up in Minnesota when we bought up there, and it took 4.5 hours. That inspector did a great job.
Wow.
But 4.5 hours, and then we went over the report, which took another hour because of all the different things. But typically, your home inspectors take about 4 to 4.5 hours. They're going through everything. I know, we're going to go through a couple of the things, but things that you're not going to understand. One of the things is they're going to check the electrical outlets. They can't check the wires in the walls, but they can check the electrical outlets and be able to tell you what kind of wiring's in there. If certain plugs are not working, they're going to check every one of those. And they'll tell you if one's not working. And so that takes a little time because they go to each and individual outlet and test them. It's very detailed. So it was kind of interesting kind of watching him and going through it. But, in an inspection, the one thing that I always look at on inspections is your roof, right? Mm-hmm. What's going on with the roof? Is there anything that we need to be scared of? Is there missing shingles? Because if there's missing shingles or if there's big spots where maybe hail damage is hit, that's going to cause issues with possible homeowners insurance, but it could cause issues with the appraisal coming in. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to see these reports, but I'm going to ask him a question about them. But Joe, what's one of the areas that you go to and look, if somebody talks to you about their home inspection, what's an area that you go to mostly?
Down here in the Houston area, definitely the roof. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up about it. Definitely the roof down here in Houston, foundation, HVAC unit, especially right down here with the humidity level the way it is in the summertime. I mean, you got to have your AC running. So those are some major ones. Of course, inspectors will go through, like you said, looking at electrical, also looking at plumbing, foundation, stuff like that, that they'll go through in quite detail.
So what are you seeing in your area as the cost of a home inspection? Because I know they can range a little bit, but they're typically around the same ballpark.
Yeah, I mean and I would say somewhere around 500, 600, 700 is a good range, right? And understand with that, we're not the ones that set that, right? And actually us as the lender, the mortgage broker, we're not going to schedule. Your realtor is the one that's going to help you with that. Okay. So as soon as you're under contract, your realtor is going to be looking at scheduling that right away, because in that option period, that small window, those are, one of the main items that needs to be taken care of right up front.
Yeah. And most real estate agents, they work with, really good ones because these are things that have to be done quickly. Mm-hmm. You don't have a long time period on these option periods. What are they typically 7 to 10 days are your typical timing. So these, your agent, they have to have these good partners because you want this inspection done within 48 hours after your earnest money has been given. Because you don't want to waste any time getting it, because then that's also the time you would negotiate repairs. But I'm seeing about $500 is the typical cost of a home inspection. And, they do so much time at each one of these that they can only fit in usually about 2 in a day. At 4 hours a piece. So $500, I don't think that's a bad cost. That's what I'm seeing typical for the area. I'd love to hear from anybody if there's somebody listening. If you're a real estate agent, what does your inspector charge? What's the longest time period that it's taken to get your inspector out there? I think the longest that I've seen is typically 4 days after the contract has been executed. So they're really on the ball. They don't schedule these long-term outs. They have to get it done in a short time.
Yes, absolutely. And if I can put a plug in here real quick. So any realtors, if you are listening right now and you have a good home inspector that you use and that you know well, we're trying. We thought we were going to have a home inspector on today to be able to, live talk to and get the scoop on it all. But unfortunately, that kind of passed by. We are looking for someone that we can, bring on the air. Yes, promote them, definitely. Why is everybody so scared to get on the show with us, Joe? I don't understand. I mean, we treat our guests pretty good.
We have so many viewers out there and so many questions, Joe, that people get scared. No, it's timing more than anything. It's trying to figure out what time can they do it. 9 o'clock for an inspector. A lot of times they're already out of house working, so I can understand where that is. I will reach out to a couple of my agents. So if you're listening today, I will be calling you guys to try to find who you use to see if we can get them on the show also. But we would like an inspector for next week. So going back, take the pen out of that, Joe. Go back to the question that asked you.
Sorry. What was the question?
I knew you were going to do that to me. What is the longest that you've seen it take for an inspection to get done? We're kind of talking about timing and the quickness that they have to do.
Yeah, like 3-4 days is the longest I've seen, right?
Okay.
So
that's a cost that people need to understand. That's a cost that you're not going to see it on your closing disclosure a lot of times. I've had one inspection company that they actually invoiced it and was okay getting paid at the end. That is not common, guys.
No.
So don't ask for that to be done, because usually your home inspection is done 30 days prior to your closing date, or 25 days or so, because it's done at the very beginning. But typically you don't see that on your closing disclosure. We don't source it, so it doesn't count towards your down payment. If funds are really tight, we can, but just kind of giving you guys a heads up. That is a cost that you're not going to see besides you writing a check and getting the report. So, now, the next cost, one of the other big ones, Joe, on here that we've talked about, is this is an upfront cost for the majority of lenders that are out there. I'm not going to say all, but the majority of lenders are going to charge you this upfront or in some type of form. But Joe, what is that inspection that I'm talking about? This is more after we're already got your documents and disclosures and all that stuff are done.
So I think you're referring to more kind of specialty type of inspections, right?
Oh no, I skipped over the specialty type inspections. I'm going to something that you have to get done on unless you have a waiver. So I'm going to give you that little plug.
Okay. Well, then you're talking about appraisals.
There you go. We'll go back to the specialty. I did jump ahead. I was going to the appraisal cost.
No, let's jump into appraisals right now while we got time.
Well, this one, the reason I want to go here is appraisals. Everybody thinks, an appraiser charges the same for each house. No, that is a myth. And I think we've talked about that on our myth show. Appraisal cost can be determined, all over the board. It can be, are you in a rural area? Because if you're in a rural area, your cost is going to go up. If you're on acreage, your cost is going to go up. Joe, what's another one that you've seen on why a cost would go up on an appraisal?
What I was going to say is as far as rural, if they're way far out there, and I was going to ask you the question as far as what's the most that you've seen charged for an appraisal?
I had one that was $1,750. I think it was last year. It was a Broken Bow cabin.
Wow.
And I was doing it as a DSCR, which is an investment purchase, if you guys don't remember what that is. And it was $1,750 because of the size of it, because it was a big one. The purchase price was over $1.2 million. So like all of those factors went into it. So that was a really expensive one. It's in a unique area. It's a touristy area. If you guys don't know what Broken Bow is, up in Oklahoma, But yeah, that one was the most expensive that I've ever seen. But outside of that, the $1,000 is usually the top end that I see on appraisal costs, especially in South Lake area with the bigger homes, the over $2 million homes. You're gonna pay a lot more for an appraisal on those because of all the extra work that you have. But what is your cost, Joe? What have you seen?
I mean, typically you're looking at $600-700, maybe 800. Depending upon the size of the home and how where it's at and that. But you're going to be somewhere around $600-700 for that appraisal.
Yeah, that's the typical cost for anybody. So if you're buying a house, I would say if your home that you're buying is under $1 million, or even at $1 million nowadays, it's so weird. Even at $1 million, your typical cost is going to be around that $700, maybe $800 range. 675. I've seen a couple of those parts of them, but VA appraisals, those costs are set. So if somebody's trying to charge you a little bit more, it's 675 or 800 is what I've seen in Colorado, just because of the uniqueness of the area. In certain spots, I've seen it be 800 on a VA appraisal. So everybody just needs to know that they're going to do it. Now, Joe, on an appraisal cost, I don't know if you know this answer.
Oh no, you're testing me again. Every show.
Typical inspection time an appraiser is at the house.
It's got to be a couple hours, like 2 hours.
No. Less than an hour is the average time an appraiser spends at the house.
Really?
Yeah, because most of their work is done prior to going out there. They're pulling their comparable cells. They're looking at all their data. They're looking at the square footages and things like that, the bedroom counts. And then when they go to the house, they're doing their measurements. They're checking the utilities, make sure they're on. They're doing their measurements around. But typically right at an hour or less is what they are. I've had some clients, but they were here for 30 minutes. I was like, well, our appraisal came in where we needed it. We're okay.
All good.
There's a lot of work that appraisers do you don't see. Where a home inspector, all of their inspection time is at the house. Where an appraiser does a lot of paperwork and everything prior to going to a home. So appraisers do a bunch of research prior to it. So you're not going to see them at your house doing as much. And it's just something to know. And a lot of times buyers, you're not there when the appraiser goes. Neither is your real estate agent. So they'll set the appointment. They'll go out there and usually there's nobody at the home. On a refinance, that's different. You'll probably be home letting them in because they don't have access to homes that are refinances. So,
and the point that you brought up, I want to discuss real quick is there is a difference between an inspection and an appraisal. Like you said, the inspection, I mean, they're spending most of their time there at the house checking things out, right? The appraisal, they're doing a lot of their work beforehand, looking up the comps and everything. And that's really where the difference between these two are, because one of them is really checking the condition, which is the inspection. The other is checking the value, right? And that's the appraisal. So that's a different condition and value between those two.
Yeah. Now you brought up some specialty inspections. Those costs, if we're going to get into cost, when you get into specialty inspections, costs can range, kind of like an appraisal can range, because not everybody does a foundation inspection. Excuse me. So a structural engineer, depending on the foundation, they can charge you something that's a little different. Joe, what's a special inspection that you were thinking of?
The two that I was thinking of is with manufactured homes, you're going to have the foundation inspection from structural engineer and a pest inspection if you're doing a VA loan.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Pest inspections typically are what, $175 is what we're saying.
Some, 150, 200 in that range.
Yeah. Now, from your home inspection, another special inspection that might come up is your HVAC. So if the inspector is like, well, it's not cooling the way that, it should, or this looks dirty or this looks old, then you might get another inspection out there and you're going to have to contact an actual HVAC company. They can go out there and they'll inspect that even further. So a home inspector is pointing out things that might be concerns that you can get other specialty inspections for, and that'll kind of give you guidance on some of them. Like an electrician, if they say that the box is overloaded, you might have to get an electrician out there to confirm it. Something like that, just for peace of mind.
And if you, like we were talking on the last show last week, if you're in more of a rural area and your water is not hooked up to the city, you have a well, you're probably going to need a water test done as well for that. So these are little ones. I don't want to say little, but extra ones beyond the general home inspection that you can expect. So
yeah. So all right, so we're down to like 5 minutes here. So what are some things that are happening during the option period? What are some things that the buyers need to be doing during the option period?
They need to be getting things ready for the lender.
Okay.
Right? Because the next key step, is going to be your mortgage going into underwriting, right? And we need to make sure all your documents are updated, because you got pre-approved, that might have been a month ago, right? And those documents that you provided a month ago to get pre-approved, probably going to need to be updated, like an updated bank statements, pay stubs, things like that.
Yeah. Real estate agents, please, once you have that signed contract by all parties, send that to us. Do not sit on that for a day. Don't, title companies are great, but they don't know who the lender is. They don't look at pre-approval letters. So send it to us, because I've had it sometimes to where I'm reaching out and, oh yeah, we got that signed, and it's 4 days later and we have a short contract. That puts us in a bind. So make sure those get over to us. That is very important during that option period, that we get that contract up front. Also that's very important on that is if we're waiting for the home inspection to be done because you're concerned about something. And what I mean by that is if there is a little bit of doubt that there's something wrong with the house that you're not going to move forward with, we don't want to order an appraisal prior to that inspection being done. So if the inspection's taking 3 days, we need to know so we can wait and order the appraisal after we've already disclosed versus ordering the appraisal once you sign the disclosure. So something to think about there during the option period that you want to make sure is done quickly.
Absolutely. Because we want that appraisal in quickly, because it can be something that can hold things up in underwriting. Definitely. Right. Let's talk a little bit. We only got about a minute or two left on this, so we'll probably have to kind of jam this one in, Joe. But when an inspection report comes back and there's things that are highlighted, right, that are wrong, what can happen from there as far as things that are wrong?
So you're on the home inspection. So there's a couple of things there that gives me the opportunity as a buyer. It gives me the opportunity to walk away. If I don't want to, I can say, hey, that $100, keep it. I'm done. I just want my $3,000 back, right?
The $3,000 meaning your EMD, your earnest money deposit. Got it.
Right. So that's one thing. The second thing is depends on how big it is. If it's minor little things, I'm not going to worry about it as a buyer. If a faceplate has a crack in it, guys, you can buy a faceplate for 97 cents at Walmart. Trust me, I was just there. Right? Don't let little things like that be a problem.
Right.
But hey, I have foundations sinking in one area. We need to get a foundation. I can renegotiate what that cost might be into that price from the seller, right? So if I need to get that fixed, I can be like, well, we got another inspection. I want that $5,000 to fix the foundation. I want that in seller concessions. That gives me time to renegotiate to get things fixed at that point. So
for
Joe, what is it?
Right, to negotiate.
Yeah, get the real estate agent to renegotiate whatever I need or get things fixed. What about for you, Joe?
Same thing. And I actually was thinking of an actual case that I had up in Michigan, St. Clair Shores. A lady was selling her house and, buying a new one. And the offer, she loved the house, loved the location. It was on the street that she wanted, everything. There was going to be like $90,000 worth of foundation issues. Because in Michigan, of course, you have basements, right? So it was, and she walked away. Keep, you know, the option fee. I'm walking away. Don't want it.
Yeah.
And that all came through the inspection, right? Didn't see it when they were going through looking at the home. Didn't see it, and you wouldn't see it, right? But when the inspector got there and went through everything, yeah, it was going to be about 90 grand to fix the foundation, the basement.
Yeah. I mean, when you go into a house for the first time, that it's everything is perfect, right? All the makeup's in the right spot. If you're a woman,
like a Tinder picture.
Perfect. As a guy, your chest is looking a little bit more puffed up than fat. You know, it's
your picture
you wanted to see. But then the inspector pulls out those other things that are no longer supposed to be there, right? So it's the next morning report. So.
Nice. Love it. But, and with that, we need to wrap up. Folks, next week, we are going to try to get a home inspector on. We'll do our due diligence because I think it's very important to be able to kind of take the cover off and look behind the scenes as far as what a home inspector does so that you know, right, the ins and outs of that. So we will try to have a home inspector on next week. If not, we'll figure out what next week's topic is going to be, but it'll definitely be educational. Yep. Just keep in mind, folks, the option period isn't meant to scare you, right? It's really meant to protect you, right? As far as the investigation, that with the inspection and everything, just keep in mind the three main items. Could be others, but three main items that are going to be out of pocket for you is the earnest money deposit, the home inspection, and the appraisal. Those three are going to be coming out of your pocket, okay, during that time. So just keep that in mind. Next week, though, obviously this was a lot to tackle for us in the short amount of time that we have. So be sure to tune in next week as we continue, hopefully, this 3-part series on what all really happens during the option period. As hopefully we will be joined by a home inspection professional who will take you behind the scenes of a home inspection. So be sure to tune in next week at our usual time, Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. Central. Even better yet, still, go to our YouTube page at the Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast. Hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode, and you can always catch up. If you didn't see last week's episode, go check it out. A lot of great information in there. And while you're there, be sure to hit the subscribe button because we are on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers. And every like, share, and comment helps us reach more home buyers like yourselves. Before we close things out, Joe, any last words or nuggets of wisdom for everybody?
No, trust your real estate agent and trust your lending partner. That way that you guys can be taken care of and get a home inspection so that way you know what's going on with the house before you buy it.
Well, I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy with a beard is Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week.